FreeCAD is a piece of free and open source computer-aided design software, and like other CAD programs, can be used to design parts for 3D printing. Last time, in part 1 of my FreeCAD Demystified series, we took a look at how to get started with FreeCAD, how to create sketches using the Sketcher workbench, including how to create shapes and how to constrain them with constraint tools. We took a look at how to take those sketches and turn them into 3D objects using the Part Design workbench, as well as how to manipulate said objects using tools within the Part Design workbench, such as fillets, holes, chamfers and pockets. And finally, we went over how to export said objects into formats such as STL for things like 3D printing. Today, in this episode of Doing It Ourselves, and indeed the second part of FreeCAD Demystified, we're going to take a deeper dive into how to design parts for 3D printing specifically within the FreeCAD environment. Some of the things in this video may sound a bit obvious, but I'm still going to work through them for the sake of completeness. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to discuss with regards to designing parts for 3D printing is the emphasis on always having at least one flat face on your object. And the reason that's important is because if we think about an FDM 3D printer, it has a build plate that gets printed on layer by layer. That is the case for FDM. For other processes like SLA, you have a little bit more freedom, but generally speaking, you want at least one flat face on your object so that it can easily stick to the print bed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a simple sphere by first creating an active body, creating a sketch on the XY plane. I'm going to create an arc along the vertical axis of the sketch, and I'm going to use a simple line, to complete the semicircle. I'm going to close the sketch and I'm going to revolve it. And this gives us a near perfect sphere. Now, the problem with this in the context of 3D printing is that there are no flat faces for this to stick to the bed. There is simply one continuous edge, and in order to print this, you would need to use both a raft and you would need to use lots of support in order to make sure that this both stays adhered to the bed and is stable enough to be printed accurately. Now let's give a more realistic example. Let's create a gear. So I'm just going to create a simple involute gear here, and I can tell you right now that this gear is perfectly printable on an FDM 3D printer because it has two perfectly flat faces that can interface with the print bed and adhere very firmly with no issues. So if we go to Part Design, and if we create a body, and if we make this gear a base feature, now what you'll sometimes find in industry, particularly with plastic gears, is that some of them have posts running through them and they're molded into the actual gear itself. So if we select this face here and we create a sketch on it, just create a simple circle. And let's pad that. And because I'm lazy, let's just pad that the other way by 30. Is that coming out the other end? Yes, it is. Probably a bit too much. Okay, so you'll see stuff like this quite commonly in mechanical engineering and stuff, in various mechanisms. And this is going to be very hard to 3D print. Yes, you have a flat face technically at each end of these posts here, but the problem is that the contact area with the print bed is going to be so small, and because the gear is disproportionately so large, it's going to be very difficult to use these faces here as a means of bed adhesion. Now, much like with the sphere, of course you can compensate for this with rafts and supports and so on, but that wastes material and it also diminishes quality and accuracy. What I would do instead is I would design these as separate parts, these posts and the gear as separate parts, and I would fit them together in post-processing, ideally in a modular fashion. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to designing things for 3D printing is splitting up large parts into smaller ones so that you can print each one individually and then combine them later. And the reason why you would want to do this, well, there's multiple reasons. Firstly, if you're printing a very, very large part, like I have this is the base for my centrifuge here. If you're printing a very large part such as this, it's going to take a very long time to actually print. And additionally, I have a pretty large build plate, but I'm aware that a lot of people have 3D printers with smaller build plates than mine, and the average build plate is not large enough to print something like this in one go. Now, there's multiple ways that you can join smaller parts together to create your final product. Here, I have chosen to just have these 4 holes that allow for fastening these parts together with a nut and bolt, or in this case 4. However, that is not your only option. If I create a new file here, and I create a new body, and I create a sketch within that body, let's just create a very large square. Something that's going to be way too large for the average person to 3D print. Let's constrain this a little. Let's constrain for height. Let's just say 400 by 400. And let's center this. So now that's fully constrained and we can close this. So now that we've finished the sketch, we can pad this. Let's pad it by, say, 25 millimeters. It's an arbitrary value, but yeah, this is just a demo. So say you have this very large part that you want to print, but you don't have a large enough print bed to print it whole. And you don't want to bother with screws or anything like that. Well, what we can do, particularly if you plan on doing something like gluing these together, or if you plan on solvent welding parts together to create the whole thing, then something we can do is we can borrow a trick from jigsaw puzzles. So we can create a sketch on this face here. Let's first create a rectangle that encompasses this whole half here. Let's get rid of this line, and then let's create our custom shape. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create a kind of interlock. This is very imprecise. These are nowhere near exact. Let's make this coincident. And let's make these coincident. Everything needs to be coincident in order to work. Okay, now that everything is coincident, we have a relatively happy sketch. This isn't constrained, but you should definitely constrain this properly when you actually do this for real. If we pocket this, you have these interlocks here that can interface with the opposing part, and you can put glue or solvent within these interlocks, and when these mesh together they will ideally lock in place and fuse. But let's say instead of having a part that's very wide, you have a part that's very tall. Well, we can account for that as well. So if we make this body invisible and we create another one, and we just create another XY plane sketch, and we just create a simple circle with a hole in it. Say you're creating some kind of tube, and let's pad that, but let's pad it like a lot. Let's say 500 millimeters. That's a very, very long tube, and most 3D printers can't print this tall. And you wouldn't even want to print this tall anyway, because the print would just be very, very unstable, and would very likely detach itself from the build plate before you could even get to this height. Fortunately, in FreeCAD there is a solution to this, and the way you do that is you don't actually start with the body itself. You instead first use the fasteners workbench, and if you were making a very long tube, the way you would make it 3D printable is to print sections and screw them together. And I'll cover the fasteners workbench in more detail in a future video, but for something like a very long tube where you want to screw sections together to create something larger, the first thing you want to do is create a simple threaded rod within the fasteners workbench. And that is perhaps the easiest way to create an external thread. And we can edit this by changing some of these parameters. So if we change thread to true, without changing any other settings, we have created a threaded rod. And we can change the diameter of this. So currently it's an M6, so we can change it to say an M10. And that creates a thicker threaded rod. Now you can't just add features to this straight away within FreeCAD. We first need to convert this to something called a base feature. And the way we do that is simply we go to part design, we create a body, and then we drag our threaded rod into the body, and it will create a base feature which we can now manipulate in various ways. So for example, we can now create our tube structure with a hole in it. We can constrain the diameter of it as with any other sketch. So say arbitrarily 12.5 millimeters, sorry, and say 4 millimeters for the inner hole. And we can pad this, say 100. And if we pocket this face all the way, we now get a hollow tube. And to make sure that this end can screw into this end, all we have to do is create a sketch on this face and use the hole tool to create an M10 internal thread. And that way, this end will be able to screw into this end. And voila, just like that, we've taken our ridiculously long, impossible to print tube and broken it down into manageable, printable segments that can be fitted together by hand. Okay, so a mistake that people will make, especially when trying to 3D print a mechanism, is they'll create the base of their mechanism. So they'll do something like that, and then they'll have their base, and then what they'll do is say if they want to print gear posts into this base, what someone might do is they'll create their posts via creating a sketch, make sure all these are equal, and what they'll do is they'll pad this and they will just call it a day without thinking twice about it. However, if I was to print this and I used it in a mechanical application, these would snap almost instantly. Something you can do to alleviate this is you can make use of fillets. Well, and chamfers as well, but mainly fillets. So if we highlight these three lines here and we fillet these, what this means is that now what we have is we have a smooth gradient from the base of the mechanism to these posts here, and that little bit of added material can significantly increase the strength of this part. And chamfers will do pretty much a similar thing, although I would argue that with chamfers, while you have neutralized the weak point at the bottom of the post, you've created a new one slightly up the post, here, here, and here. And that's why I personally prefer fillets as opposed to chamfers for increasing strength for protruding structures. However, this isn't the only way you can increase the strength of your 3D printed parts. Something I did with the pinion shaft of my 3D printed centrifuge was I created a hole in the middle and I inserted a threaded rod into it. And what that allowed me to do was exploit the strength of the threaded rod while still being able to use the 3D printed geometry of this part. And that is especially useful if, for example, you don't have access to a CNC machine to print something in metal. You can integrate metal fastenings and fittings into your 3D printed parts in order to have a strong reinforced part without having to go to a machinist or what have you. Okay, so overhangs. Overhangs, even though some printers can now print them quite well, most printers can't really print overhangs extensively. Here we have an example of something you want to avoid. So this was the original base design for my centrifuge mechanism for the gear train, and printing this was a nightmare because you have this massive overhang here and support was a pain to remove, and this whole design was suboptimal overall, but let's just focus on the fact that, yeah, we have this massive overhang here, and really you should just try to design around not having to have massive overhangs if possible. And that's one of the reasons I kind of switched to the new design, where I retained all of the functionality of this, but this was a lot more printable and a lot more sturdy, because I redesigned it so that instead of having the gear train be based upon this rail here, I now have a sled system that is integrated into the bottom of the base itself. So say you wanted to print something with a cylindrical section, and then what you wanted to do was you wanted the top of that section to be solid. Now, if for whatever reason you wanted to print it this way round, you would obviously have a massive internal overhang. And what's most likely going to happen is when you try to 3D print this layer here, if it doesn't fail completely, you're going to have lots of material drooping down, and that's going to distort the layers printed on top thereafter, because you have a sharp cliff edge from this wall to this flat face. Now, a way you can get around this, if you absolutely have to print something like this way up, is you can use either an internal fillet or chamfer. And now what this means is that when your 3D printer tries to print this, because you have a gradient from the wall to this face, you'll have less of an overhang, and because of this gradient here, each layer has a little bit of material it can use to support itself. So as opposed to material just printing in thin air, you're now going to have layers along this gradient that the nozzle can print onto. Well, that was a few tips on how to design parts for 3D printing within FreeCAD. Next time, in FreeCAD Demystified Part 3, we'll take a look at a couple of useful workbenches, the gear workbench and the fasteners workbench. Thank you all for watching, stay tuned for more, like and subscribe, goodbye, Merry Christmas.